Hey guys, this is Ginger and I'm back with a short expression. Today I want to talk about why I stopped taking Ozempic. Well, this was like maybe 4 months ago. My doctor decided to put me on Ozempic because my A1C was at 9.3 and that was considered really high. And because I had other issues going on, so he felt like I needed to get on this and bring my A1C down. And let me just start off by saying that this product does work, okay? Because first it starts off at 0.25, which in the beginning you don't feel anything. He said it's pretty much just helping your body get adjusted to having it in your system. And when I got to zero point 0.5, okay, I felt the same way. I didn't feel any differently, I felt like everything was okay. But then when I got to 1 milligram, that's when everything changed, okay? Next thing I know, I noticed I wasn't eating the sweets. Like I was not and that's my main problem. I like sweets a lot. I noticed I wasn't eating the sweets as much as I was before. And then when it came down to the meals, I noticed I wasn't hungry at the times that I would usually be hungry. And I was like, okay, well, I guess that's a good thing. But then I was like, okay, there are some side effects, and everybody's side effects are different. But I noticed I started getting constipated a lot. And I was like, oh, well, and let me tell you, being constipated, that's an awful feeling, okay? But, I felt like it would pass, because it was a new dosage. My body didn't adjust to it yet. So I said, okay, let me go ahead. And I think I went another 3 weeks because you have to take it every week, once a week. And I think I let 2 weeks pass and I just noticed it just really didn't go away. But, there's levels. So it's like the last one is 2 milligram. Okay, so I asked the doctor, let me go one more week on the 1 milligram just to see if I would feel any differently. And I didn't, but he was like, he want me to go on with the process. So when I got to 2 milligrams, let me tell you guys, I wasn't eating at all. Okay. When I got to 2 milligrams, I noticed I just wasn't hungry at all. And then that just worried me just a little bit, okay? Because I was like, okay, my constipation was there. I mean, I was really in a lot of pain. I found myself taking a laxative like every other day. Oh, and then it was like, even with the laxative, I felt like I was still having a hard time moving my bowels. I was like, okay, I don't know. I was like a double benefit for me, but at the time, I could not bear it. So I asked him to bring me back down to 1 milligram. And I was like, wait, I couldn't get past it. It was like every day I was waking up with stomach cramps, and all through the day I'm just uncomfortable. But yet, when I did go back to the doctor, I think this was like maybe 2, 3 months later, my A1C dropped from 9.3 to 7.8. And I was like, oh wow. I was very happy to see that, but still the side effects was just too great for me. And then he weighed me and I was like, whoa, I really, especially when I moved up to 1 milligram, I realized I really started losing weight. And I actually went an extra week being on 1 milligram. And I did lose a lot of weight. But I still didn't like the thought that, I wasn't hungry. I know that may sound crazy, especially when you're trying to lose weight, but it was like I would go a whole day and haven't eaten yet. And I was like, okay, that's not good either. Okay, and then I felt myself like forcing myself to eat. And it's like, I'm just picking over my food. That's not healthy either. Okay, I know some people's like, I don't care, whatever. I do. Because it's like you're going to wind up having problems somewhere else down the line. Okay, and like I said, I was on a laxative and still having a problem going to the bathroom. I didn't want it to mess up my system. So this is why I said, okay, no. So when I got some 2 milligrams, I think I was like, okay, I'm going to have to take a break. So I noticed what I was doing was if I took it this week, I wouldn't take it the next week. So I was, giving my stomach some relief, but no, I didn't feel any differently. I'm like, I'm losing the weight and my A1C is going down, but I am like uncomfortable as hell. Okay. And I'm like, I'm walking around. I'm like, it's the worst to be walking around uncomfortable. And then I noticed when I went up another week, that's when the nausea started coming in. I was like, okay. I went back to my, doctor and I told him, bring it back to 1 milligram. Went back to 1 milligram. Like I said, the nauseation, the feeling went away, but I was still going through this whole constipation. I didn't feel like it was worth it no more. Okay, so I was like, I think I need a break, but he didn't want me to get off it because I was doing so well with my A1C, because that's what it's really for. It's not about so much the weight loss, which I need the weight loss as well, but it was like when he wanted my A1C to go down to a certain level. I think he wanted to go down to 5, I think. And he wanted me to check back like every 3 months, but I didn't think I was going to make it. I'm sorry, to another like 3 months. So I started doing every other week. And I just was like, okay, I think I'm gonna have to let it go. Or either try another brand or something like that. And each his own, like I said, for me, it did work. It did what it was supposed to do. It brought my A1C down. I was losing weight, but I hated the feeling of feeling uncomfortable, just being really uncomfortable. And even when I'm using, something to relieve myself, it was like I didn't want to be dependent on that as well. It's not good to keep, taking a laxative as well. So I finally just let it go. And as soon as I let it go, I think it's like it usually take a week for it to get out the system. I noticed I was back to normal. Okay. I was like feeling much, much more relief. But I'm gonna have to say, maybe 2 weeks, I noticed I was back on the sweets. And oh, I hated it. I hated it. The sweet cravings came back. And I was never really into meals like that. You know, sweets was more of my problem. I like sweets way more. And I just noticed I wanted to eat sweets again. And I'm like, I was hungry for my meals, but I noticed I wasn't overeating. So that was good. But it's only been actually now almost 3 weeks that I've been off it. But I'm gonna ask my doctor to see if he could give me another product that's something similar to this without me going through that issue again. And like I said, for each his own. Everybody's symptoms, or some people just might not have any side effects. That was just my side effect. And like I said, when I went up to 2 milligram, I noticed nausea started coming in, and I'm like, okay, it makes no sense for me to go through that, and then I'm like uncomfortable. I didn't feel like, it was working, but then I felt like still it didn't work out for me. So I let it go, but I am seeing that I'm going back to my old ways. That's the only thing. When you stop, you go back to your old habits. But I'm hoping he'll find another product, something similar to this that won't give me such a bad side effect. But I just wanted to let you know that was my experience for being on Ozempic. But like I said, it might be different for you. So if you want results, this does give you results. So I would still recommend someone to try it and just see if it works out for them. But I'm just ending it today. I'm just not doing it no more. And I just thought I would share that for anyone out there who was concerned, or just like wanted to look into it. I say still look into it. If your A1C is that high, please do. It definitely works. Okay. So I'm gonna actually end it here. I just wanted to share that information with you guys. And as usual, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like and leave a comment, and as well look at some of my older commentary as well. Until next video, have a good day.